Welcome back to the Mental Map. I just did that intro like 5 different times. I don't know how to start this. I'm feeling very nervous because I'm so excited to be back and making a new episode. My last episode, when did I even post my last episode? I think May, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I was so excited to start this season 2 self-care themed season. A lot has happened since the last episode, so I'm really excited to talk about my sister having a baby, and I finally moved out of my parents' house. Big, monumental changes in life, like becoming an aunt and living on my own for the first time. So it's been a lot to take in, trying to enjoy myself, trying to be as present and in the moment as possible. You know I'm a big advocate for that. So enjoying my summer, traveling a bunch, and just letting life rock. Just letting life rock, letting life do its thing. Let's get into it. Okay, I knew that I was always coming back to the podcast. I knew I was going to be making another episode. It's just that I couldn't juggle what my life was throwing at me and sitting here being able to talk through what I was going through and the feelings that I was feeling. So I just stepped back because I've said in previous episodes, I never want to make an episode just to make an episode. I never want to say things that I'm not fully prepared to back up in the future. You know, I want to stand by what I say, and I want to make sure that what I have to say is genuine and I believe in it 110% and not just spew random positivity or random nonsense. I want to be intentional with what I'm saying. So I took a much needed step back, and life has just been lifing. A lot has happened. I have a nephew. I am obsessed with him. My older sister had her first baby boy, and we have just been, as a family, obsessed and just enthralled in everything this little baby boy has to offer to this world in his now 2 months of being earthside with us. So I'm over the moon and just so happy to have taken on this new role in my life that I've never fulfilled in this way before. So it's just such an interesting feeling. And for people who are a parent or are an aunt or uncle in a position of taking care of this little human, like, you know the joy and the inexplicable feeling that comes with this. Like, this role is no joke, and my view on life and how I make my choices from the moment he was born moving forward just totally shifted. And now I keep him in mind, and I keep that childlike mindset in mind when I make my decisions. That kind of sounds like I make childish decisions. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like, the purity and the innocence of children is just beautiful. And yes, he's only 2 months. He can't even speak yet. But just having a mindset now of, oh, this is what he's going to think, and this is how he's going to grow up, and what do I want to teach him as a role model in his life? How can I be a role model in his life and inspire him to be his best self, and what does that look like? And the only way I can do that is by doing it for myself. I've said this countless amount of times on this podcast, is that, you know, you can't truly be there for somebody else or truly love anything or anyone if you don't have that and cultivate that within yourself. So that's what I've been kind of anticipating before he was born and kind of trying to build myself up to. And then he was born, and I'm just trying to fulfill that role for him. So I'm an aunt. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And I'm so, so excited. So that's that. 2 days before my nephew was born, I finally moved out on my own. This is such a huge step. I only saw my sister, she moved out into a beautiful home with her now husband, and she got to do that with a partner. And I don't have, people in my circle that have moved out without a partner or without family or a roommate. Or so this was huge. It was huge. Obviously, I'm not the first person to be moving out alone. I know that. But from what I've experienced or seen my closest people experience, that just wasn't the case for me. So moving out on my own was huge, and it's just a different independence, of course, a different vibe. It's a different vibe, babes. It's a different energy that I'm so proud of myself that I finally made that step and I took it. And with the journey that I've been on the past 2 years now, being single now for almost 3 years, it's definitely been an interesting adjustment, an interesting transition. The thing that I really want to focus on today is the title of this episode is called The Comfort Zone. I have really been challenged these past few months to break out of my comfort zone and transition into a new era. I turned 26 this August, and I don't know, it's really, I can't explain it, but I just had this feeling in my soul that this year would be the year that I experienced the biggest transition, the biggest change. And of course, I took on the role of an aunt. I have a new beautiful nephew in my life, brand new human being that I love more than anything in this world. I'm living on my own. So these are major life changes that happened before I turned 26. And I guess that's where it kind of stemmed from, is like, okay, well, I'm starting this brand new chapter in my life, and it's just so completely different than anything I've ever experienced before. And on top of all of that, I'm doing it alone. I've never had to go through any new phase in life completely on my own. And here I am. And 26 has been great. 26 has been nothing short of new experiences, new opportunities, and I don't even know how to say this. One of those new experiences and new opportunities was I went to London Fashion Week. I was invited by a friend of mine to go with him and some friends to London Fashion Week. I went for not even 48 hours, and that opportunity came to me the night of my 26th birthday. I went into 26 knowing and just having this such sure feeling that this was going to be a year of being different and breaking molds, my own molds, and just reforming into a better version of myself than I ever was, and taking everything I've learned and moving forward. And the clock struck midnight on my birthday. We were dancing, we were having fun, and I was invited to go. And it wasn't until days later that I thought back to that night, and I was like, oh, I think I got invited to London Fashion Week. Let me follow up with that. And I did. I was. And something in me knew that I had to jump at this opportunity. But all my life, I never wanted to step out of my comfort zone. If I had the opportunity to, I would always dip a toe in the water of that new venture and immediately pull back and get out and change my mind. I was the kid that started something, and when it got serious, or when it got, to the big dance recital, to the big thing, I would pull out, or my parents would never let me pull out of whatever I was doing, but I would want to quit and kind of retract and not finish what I started. And I feel like I unconsciously made those decisions based on this fear of success. I never realized that that was what it was. I kind of always chalked it up to, oh, it's a fear of failure, right? That's a normal fear to have. You're afraid to fail, so you just back out anyway. But for me, I still struggle with this till this day. I have this crippling fear of success. What if this does work out? How does that change my life? How can that potentially change me? And that's really what I want to focus on. This episode is that concept. Rewinding a little bit, I had the inspiration and the motivation to sit down and map out, no pun intended, map out all my thoughts on my comfort zone and being out of my comfort zone because of this quote that I saw online, and it said, "Stop carrying old feelings into new experiences." It just hit me like a truck, that quote, more than ever, because that is exactly where I am in my life right now, is trying to, like I said, break my mold, and step out of what I'm used to, step out of my past, step out of who I've always been and the choices I always made based on that fear of success, and kind of start fresh. Take every moment for exactly what it is, not what I think it's going to be based on what was or what I'm used to, Stop carrying old feelings into new experiences. I feel like that goes with dating, that goes with new job, friendships, self-talk, right? We are so conditioned to look at what was and carry that into our present. Well, this happened to me last time in a relationship, so I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen again. And we're so focused on what was and making sure it doesn't happen again, or making sure it's maybe not that it doesn't happen again, making sure that it happens exactly how it happened in the past because we like how it happened in the past. And we just lose sight of the present moment. We lose sight of who we are now because we're so focused on the good that was in the past and we want to replicate that now, or we're so focused on the bad that happened in the past that we're so fixated on making sure that doesn't happen now. Those are things that we can try and control as much as we want, but life is gonna life, and the only person we can control is ourselves. So we may be doing a great job at controlling things today the way we want it to be, but then what about all the other people that come into our lives that will most likely mess it up and kind of change it up? We can't control that. And that's where, at least for me, my anxiety comes in, or that's when my anxiety would come in, is I'd be on this track of, this is how I want it to go. Great, I'm making it happen. Oh, now you're coming in and messing it up. But they're not messing it up. It's just the reality of life. Everything's constantly changing. And I guess that's why I never would step out of my comfort zone, because stepping out of my comfort zone would mean me losing control. And, I would set these expectations and kind of pre-assume the judgment that would come from family members, friends, or just the outside world for the choices that I would make. So I'd kind of try and stay in my usual, normal, okay, nobody judges me for this, or at least I get the least amount of judgment when I stay this way, so let me just keep on going with this. And I just felt stuck. I constantly felt stuck because I kept doing the same thing over and over again and making the same choices over and over again. And I'm changing. So it just wasn't working for me, doing what always worked. Eventually, it's not going to work anymore. And, I guess a thing that I failed to realize is that judgment is a part of adulthood. inevitably, unfortunately. Like I am human, I judge other people, and other people judge me. So judgment is going to come either way. Make the choices that benefit you today. Period. I noticed these past few months that, I had a hard truth to come to realize, and that was that I kept feeling stuck and like nothing was going to change in my life because I kept thinking of what could have been. I kept thinking of what could have been, and I was making moves with the thought of what once was going to be. What once was going to come back around and be my future. And, I also was under this illusion that, okay, once I get this, once I move out, once my nephew comes into this world, I'll know true joy, or I'll be content. It'll be enough once I get this apartment and fulfill this role as an aunt. I kept putting my contentment and happiness and joy into the future. And so once these things came and I had them, they were great. They are great. But then I just found myself weeks later being right back to where I was, being stuck and feeling out of control, feeling like I wasn't living for myself. I was living for my mom. I was living for my sister, my nephew, my friends, my job. I didn't feel like I was making decisions for the benefit of myself and to fulfill myself. I was doing it because other people wanted me to do it, and this is how other people think I should be making choices in my life. And so this is what I'm doing. I was so afraid of breaking my mold and allowing myself to be different than I was and make different choices. And I think living alone, the first month of living alone for the first time was difficult. I mean, my nephew had just been born, so I was kind of all about him and my sister and being with them. And I had my own place, so I had to take care of myself. My mom wasn't there to cook me dinner every night, So it was definitely a transitional period that I'm sure a lot of you have gone through, moving out from your parents' house into living alone, all on your own. So it was just definitely a weird time, because I was like, okay, I'm living by myself. Why do I not feel independent? Why do I not feel the way I expected to feel? I had this expectation that once I was living on my own, that everything would be right in the world and everything would make sense, and I would just pick it up and, make dinner every night and clean up my space and enjoy my alone time. And it just, granted, me moving out happened 2 days before my nephew was born, so kind of like life was all about him after that. But no, I really had to sit with myself, and I had to realize that life is not a waiting game. Life doesn't wait for you. Life just happens. It happens. It keeps going. And it's up to us to say, hey, am I going to allow myself to fall back, or am I just going to go with the flow? Am I going to go with the wave of life, ups and downs? And that's what I had to do. I had to take hold once again of this new life that I have, and remember that, 1, it's okay to change. 2, there's nobody else that I'm living for but myself. And 3, if I'm not going to live for myself, then how can I show up 100% authentically to the people that I love? If I'm living for my nephew, if I'm living for my sister, my parents, my friends, it's going to catch up to me. And who am I at that point? Being single now for almost 3 years, I'm constantly reflecting. I'm constantly thinking about my life and kind of putting like an aerial view on everything and taking a step back. And I find myself in this spot often because I feel the change in my life. I feel the change in myself, and I'm constantly having to take, not inventory, but I'm constantly having to take that step back and say, okay, am I showing up as authentically as possible in my life? Am I showing up for myself? Am I doing the things I need to do to feel content? Because a boyfriend's not going to do that for me. A new baby, a nephew is not going to do that for me. You know, I have to do it within myself. And we just forget that. We just forget that. And I know I feel like every episode I kind of preach the same thing, but I feel like life just comes down to that. Life is so simple, and we as humans just complicate it so much. And after this trip to London, I was in a new place. I'd never been to London before. I'd never done anything like this. I've never gone out of the country for less than 48 hours. I'd never been to Fashion Week. I've never been in the rooms that I was in. And I felt so nervous, but so excited. Obviously, it was something I'd never done before. That's a normal feeling. But at the end of the trip, I was so proud of myself. I was so proud that I took this opportunity, and I came out of my comfort zone, and I came out of it so much more confident, so much more sure of how I need to carry myself moving forward. I just want to live in my interactions. I don't want to go into new experiences expecting anything. Easier said than done, of course. But these are just the things that I've learned the past few months. And this is what this podcast is me sharing everything that I've learned. And I feel like these lessons are on repeat, but they're on repeat with different experiences. And that's what I want to share, is that you can learn the same lesson over and over again through the same experience, right? I know that, in relationships, you could experience the same lesson through the same thing with different people. I feel that you learn the same lesson over and over again the same way if you haven't learned it. But when you learn lessons through different experiences, it may be the same lesson, but it's a completely different way of learning it, and a completely different way that the lesson came into light. That's growth. That is growth. Yes, you're growing, learning the lesson no matter how you learn it, through the same thing happening, through new things happening. But if you're learning the same lesson, or not even learning the same lesson, but realizing the lesson you already learned in new experiences, that is growth, baby. That is growth. It took a lot to get here for me. I learned the same lesson going through the same experience a lot. It wasn't until I started this healing journey 2 years ago after my last relationship. It wasn't until then that I opened up myself to say, okay, I need to experience new things. I need to put myself in different rooms. It takes time. This is not me saying, go out there, get out of your comfort zone. I did it. Like, look at me. Like, look at all the time that has passed for me to feel confident enough to be here today and say, yeah, I love getting out of my comfort zone. I mean, at the end of the day, who really loves getting out of their comfort zone? But I can say today, it's awesome. It's scary, but it's so, so fun. Treat yourself with grace. Allow yourself to feel everything, but don't let those feelings block you from life. If you're angry, be angry. If you're sad, be sad. If you're heartbroken, be heartbroken. I'm getting emotional. I just think about my own life and the heartbreak that I've felt in relationships and in deaths, in just life, just the heartbreak that comes with life, the grief that comes with life. And being in places at different points in my life, at different ages, 15, 20, 24, 25, being in spots of life where you don't know how it's going to go, and you don't feel confident, and you don't feel like it's going to work out. But the moments that do feel like it's going to work out and you come up for air, and in those happy moments, I personally am so grateful for all the rock bottom moments I've ever had, because I was open enough, or I became open enough to learn from those moments. And now, anytime moving forward, I find myself in rock bottom or even on that downward slope, I allow myself to feel it. I don't say, no, I'm got to distract myself. I got to move this way. I allow myself to feel it, and I'm 10 times better for it moving forward. Feel the feelings. Feel it. Our song of the day is This Year by Emily King. I heard this song in the show And Just Like That. It's the Sex and the City sequel show, I guess. Carrie Bradshaw was in her apartment, and, it was the wide shot from her window. And This Year by Emily King came on. And I heard it. I loved it in that moment. Kind of forgot about it. And when I was writing all my notes for this episode, I was like, oh, that song from And Just Like That, I need it. I went on a crazy hunt for this song, and I found it. I'm going to share some of the lyrics with you now. In the song, she sings, I'm taking what's mine, I'm putting it on the line this year. Not going to waste no more time. I'm coming to claim my shine this year. I threw away all your shit. I'm ready to get my fix this year. This year, gonna hit my stride. I'm living it, my best life this year. Obviously, that line, I threw away all your shit, she's talking to an ex. But if this doesn't define the vibe I'm trying to give this year, I said turning 26, I just feel like this is the year of change, of me truly coming into this new version of myself while keeping who I am and my soul, at the center of all things. But this year, I'm just living for myself, and I have that in mind, is just to do for myself what I would want a partner to do for me. I have to give it to myself before I can receive it from anybody else. How can I expect my partner to give me what I don't give myself? I mean, come on. Or to treat me in a way that I don't already treat myself. If I don't treat myself with kindness, why should I expect anybody else to? So this year is the year that I'm not going to waste time contemplating, oh, should I do it? Should I not? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take these opportunities if I feel that I want to. I'm not going to back out and shy out because I'm afraid, or it's not my typical choice that I would make. I'm coming to claim my shine this year. I'm ready to get my fix this year. This year is going to hit my stride. It's such a good reminder. It's such a good reminder to take your life by the horns. What's the saying? Take life by the horns? Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Take life by the horns and just just, I'm trying to make an analogy here and it's not working. Just live your life, make choices for yourself, get out of your comfort zone. And if you can't, if you're not there yet, treat yourself with kindness. Speak to yourself with kindness. You will get there. If you want to get there, you will get there. Work on it. It's work. We can't shy away from the work. It feels so good to be back. I don't know what's next for this podcast, what the next episode will be. I'm just so happy that I can come on here and talk in real time about my feelings and what I'm going through. And if you can't already tell, if you've listened to previous episodes, I'm doing life just like all of you. I am up and down just like the rest of the world. I could be on the up for months and then just hit this low rock bottom moment. I'm navigating just like all of you, and I'm really grateful that I have this space to talk about it and to come on here when I have things I feel are important to share. I know that back in the day when I felt these things when I was younger, I wish that I had a common ground to kind of come back to. And this is what I want to do with the mental map, is be a common ground for you guys to hear my side of life and know that you're not alone. Know that I'm a normal, regular, schmegular girl going through normal things, and you're valid for feeling all the things that you feel. Up and down, you're valid. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye for now.